Hello Seekers, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Alice Estrella Strange, and today we are diving into 3 methods for creating sigils plus insider tips for my practice. So it's been a while since I posted any videos. I have been moving and settling into my new space, which I love, and while it was nice to slow down and focus on myself, I really missed making content for you guys, so I'm super excited to be back at it. I decided to start with this video because it's one that I've wanted to share for a really long time. I use sigils in my practice a lot because they're really quick and effective magic. Now I'm sharing my methods with you so you can use them in your own practice. But first, if you don't know me, hi, I'm Alice, your mystic mentor in all things witchcraft and magic. If you're a beginner witch or just someone who wants to deepen their practice, I'd love to have you join us in Modern Mystic Academy, a private online community where we deep dive into magical themes for 4 weeks. Every cycle you get 3 live group rituals, tons of downloadable resources, and a curated ritual kit with supplies to craft your own tools, plus exclusive items that I've made just for you. It's a really beautiful community, and I'd like to invite you to join us for our next cycle of sacred symbols and charm weaving. Enrollment closes March 22nd, so if you're ready to go all in on your magic, the link is in the description. I'd love to see you there. Now, let's create some sigils. There are 3 ways that I like to create my sigils, but the first step is always the same: setting your intention. When creating an intention for sigils, you want to use present tense as if you already have it, and affirmative language, which means you wouldn't use a phrase like, I don't have debt, or I feel less anxious. You'd say, my bills are paid, or I am peaceful. We want to avoid saying what it is we're removing because it reaffirms it to our minds and the universe. Saying what you're calling in is a lot more empowering to you and your magic. You also want to keep your intention short and sweet. You'll use the letters of your intention to create the sigil, and having a long sentence can make it a little more difficult. Most people like to keep it really short, just a word or 2, but I like to be very specific with some of my intentions and use more powerful language. So rather than I have money, I may say financial abundance. I've used some pretty long intentions before, but I have a method that makes it work, so we'll explore that. Once you've chosen your intention, then you'll write it out on paper and cross out all the vowels and repeating letters. This is how most methods for sigil making work. There are probably methods out there that don't do this, but that's how I like to make my sigils. Our first method for sigil crafting is the freeform method. For this sigil, our intention is abundance. So you'll start by writing out your intention, and then you will cross out the vowels and the repeating letters, leaving us with B, N, D, and C. With the freeform method, you're essentially making a design with these letters that combines them into one symbol. So here's what I created with these letters. I really wanted to incorporate a $sign because it's something we automatically associate with money. Therefore, it has a really strong subconscious connection. And so with this $sign symbol here, we have the C and we have the D. And then I added this extra curve on the left to make a sort of B shape over here. And it's not exactly a B, but I really like the look of this. And personally, I find aesthetically pleasing sigils to be more powerful in my practice. And so that leaves us with N. And this sigil's already really flowy and curvy, which really aligns with the energy of money. So I made the N sideways and added these flowy little loops here. And this symbolizes the flow of abundance coming to me, away from me, and back. And this is my sigil for abundance. Incorporating symbols that already exist, like a pentagram for protection or a spiral for expansion, is a way to use the energy it already has to give extra power to your sigil. The freeform method is super personal, and everyone has their own preferences. I really love curvy and flowy designs, but you may like a more straight and geometric look. It's super creative, and it gives you all the freedom to design it however you like. But always keep in mind that while this is a creative method, it doesn't have to be perfect. What matters is the intent and energy that you pour into it. Our second sigil crafting method is the witch's wheel. This is one of the most common methods that you'll see, and I'll show you two different examples of sigils with this method, one super simple and one more detailed, and we'll start with the more simple one. So this is what the witch's wheel looks like, and again with this method, you'll start out by writing your intention. This time I will use protected home. And then you will cross out your vowels and repeating letters. And this leaves us with P, R, T, C, D, H, and M. Now that you have the letters that you'll be using, you come over here to the witch's wheel and you start at the P and you draw a line over to the R, the T, the C, the D, the H, and the M. And now we have our sigil made, and I'll go ahead and draw this in a little darker so we can see it. And from here, you can use this sigil as is, or you can adapt it more if you like. A lot of people like to draw circles at the end or dots at the end. It really varies. So now let's go ahead and redraw this over here. And remember to take your time with this and really pour your intention in. It's less about your technique or the rules you're following and far more about the intention and the energy you pour into it, really giving it the time it deserves for it to be truly magical. So now that I've sketched this out, and I really like to be artistic with these, I'm not gonna lie. I love to doodle around and draw them over and over. Anyway, now that we have this sigil here, rather than putting a circle or a dot, I like to follow my intuition and symbolism. And to me, this feels like the starting point is sheltered inside these boundaries. So I'm going to put a circle at the starting point, and I'm going to put an X at the end. X's, to me, especially in sigil crafting, represent stopping or blocking. And I really like this sharp and blocky shape since this is for protection. So we'll do one last run through. And this is my sigil for a protected home. Now let's make a more detailed sigil. The intention for this one is opportunities flow to me. So let's go ahead and cross out the extra letters. And we're left with P, R, T, N, S, F, L, W, M. Since this has more letters and 4 words, I'm going to break it down into multiple chunks. This is my favorite way to make really powerful sigils for bigger intentions. First, we have PRTNS from opportunities. This will be the first part of our sigil. So I'll go ahead and draw lines to connect those. And then we have FLW from the word flow. And I'm going to go ahead and make a separate line for these since they're a separate word. Okay, and then we have the M. And for that, I'm simply going to draw a circle here on the M. Now, here's where things get really fun. I'm going to redraw these lines over here so I can stylize them. The first line is for opportunities, and I'm going to leave it mostly as is, but I'm going to draw it in red. I really like to use red for go-getter, active energy, so opportunities fits perfect. Then this line over here for the word flow, I'm really going to match that energy by using blue and then also making it really flowy. And then for the M, I'm simply going to go in with the green and draw a circle. Why green? I don't know, it feels right. So from there, we just add some end marks, and on this red line, I'm gonna give it some arrows. I really like arrows for expansion and action, and so it's perfect for opportunities. And from here, this is your sigil. So this is how I would make a sigil for opportunities flow to me. Now, our third and final method is the clock method. This one is a bit different. Once you've reduced your intention down, then you'll assign it a number. I like to do this by writing out the alphabet and numbering each letter 1 through 12 and then repeating until they are all numbered. Then you'll replace the letters with the corresponding numbers and you'll draw a clock face. The numbers of the clock will work like the letters on the witch's wheel. So this is how you'll do the clock method for sigil crafting. For this sigil, my intention is new opportunities. So let's reduce that down. Nope. Okay, and that leaves us with N, W, P, R, T, and S. And if we look at our reference up here, that would become 2, 11, 4, 6, 8, and 7. Now let's go ahead and draw these numbers, connect them on the clock face, just like we would the witch's wheel. So we'll go from 2 to 11 to 4, and then 6 and 8. And now, one of my insider tips, since we're going from the 8 to the 7 here, that would be doubling back on this line. So I like to draw a second separate line that's parallel to the first. And then let's stylize this. So if we're going to stylize this like I normally would, then what I would do is I would draw my lines here, and then I'd give myself some arrows, new opportunities, we're going expansive. And then since our end is here, I usually just put a little half arrow here, and this would be your sigil for new opportunities on the clock method. Let's look at another example of how I stylize sigils. So if I did one for successful work, that would reduce down. And then we would have S, C, F, L, W, R, K. And then looking at our chart, that would become 7, 3, 6, 12, 11, 6, 11. So in this case, with these repeating here, you can choose to leave out the repeating numbers just like you would with repeating letters in other methods. But sometimes I like to do a little bit of a fancy flair here. So let's look at what that would look like. You would start at the 7, go to the 3, the 6, the 12, then 11. And for the repeating here, I don't want to go back over them. And rather than just leaving them out, sometimes I will circle these points to symbolize that repeating. So this is how I like to make sigils with the clock method and stylize them a little bit and make them my own. Now these are all methods that I like to use in my practice when I'm creating sigils. My hack for this is keeping pictures of the witch's wheel and a blank clock face in my phone. And then I'll draw on them in my pictures app to try out different intentions, see how they look, and see what resonates the most. I really love this because it saves a lot of paper. I can play around with my wording as much as I want and find what works best. Then I put pen to paper and make a ritual out of it. So this video got pretty long, and there's still a lot to learn. If you'd like to explore things like sigils and seals and glyphs deeper, we will be doing just that in Modern Mystic Academy's next cycle, and so much more. Enroll before March 22nd with the link below and make some magic with us. Let me know in the comments below if you've tried any of these methods before. I'm really curious what you guys do in your practice, and also feel free to comment any questions you have. I've been getting a lot of really great questions from you guys, so I've decided to start doing live Q&As so I can answer them and offer some support. So if you have any questions now, go ahead and put them in the comments, or you can join us live with some questions in mind and I'll answer as many as I can. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification so you don't miss those lives or any upcoming videos. Thanks for stopping by my channel. I'll see you next time. And until then, remember, stay curious, friends.